What makes us obligated to meet such perfection or such absurd standards? Here's your look at the Threezero Jujutsu Kaisen Nobara Kugisaki. FigZero's 1/6 scale Nobara Kugisaki is approximately 10.6 inches tall and is fully articulated collectible figure with over 32 points of articulation. The head is sculpted of renowned sculptor Akinori Takaki, and materials used for the figure are mainly PVC and ABS. The character's costume includes a white shirt, Jujutsu high jacket, Jujutsu high skirt, and stockings, which are all made of fabric. The figure comes with 3 interchangeable faceplates, a neutral face, an angry face, and smirking face, 2 interchangeable hair pieces, standard hair and disheveled hair, and 6 sets of interchangeable hands. Additional accessories include 1 waist bag, 1 hammer, 3 nails, 1 straw doll, 1 toy hammer, a pair of shoes, and Jujutsu effects for hammer and nails. Now, just before we have a look at Nobara Kugisaki, I once again would like to thank the folks over at Threezero that did provide this sample of the Jujutsu Kaisen Nobara Kugisaki. In fact, that we could have a look at this review. Both this and the earlier looked at Yuji Adidori are both available right now online, various online sites. So if you guys have been interested to get these ones for yourself, they are in stock as of right now. Grabbing the tape measure, as we always do, we're going to take it right to the very top of the head. In this case, Nobara's head makes her a figure that's about 10 inches in height, or she's going to be about 25 centimeters tall. Speaking of Yuji, let's go ahead and slide over Nobara that we're about to have a look at, and bring in the earlier looked at Nobara, earlier looked at Yuji. You can see in this case that Yuji Itadori is quite a lot taller than Nobara. Obviously, I think in also the cartoon, she'd be a fairly short character, so I think that's nicely represented here in the 6 scale releases. As always, Threezero has spoiled us with the amount of accessories that come included with Nobara. Some of the accessories, I hate to say, are ones that you're going to be losing if you're not too careful, like for the ones that we're about to have a look at. I think starting first, the figure comes included with a straw doll. I really like the look of this one, and it may be potentially the thing I'm going to have her displayed along with. The straw doll, as you can see, does have the little heart tag there on the top, but there's also a hole right in the middle here. The figure comes included, if I can hopefully hold this, with a tiny little nail. If you are worried about the things being lost, don't worry. They actually did include some extra nails there along with the wrist pegs. So you happen to lose any of the things that we're about to look at here, don't worry, you got a couple of extras there along with the wrist pegs. But you get this one that actually does have the flat head to this. This is the one that's going to attach actually into the hole. And when you are putting into the hole, you sort of have to be careful to twist it. You may even want to put it in a little bit further than what I've got it right now, but it does have the means to actually have the one nail. I don't think I've got it all the way in there. The thing about it, though, is obviously the plastic is a little bit softer, so you don't want to be pushing too much pressure against it. I mean, it does have the means to store on there. I'm going to probably have to heat this a little bit more just to make sure the nail is lodged enough in there. I hate to lose it. Like I said, there are extras available along with the wrist pegs, but just the idea that you get such small accessories like this. Speaking of small accessories, what a segue over. The figure also comes included with non-flat heads nails. You actually get 3 of these. That's not 100% true. You actually get 3 loose along in the tray. But then, again, you got some extra ones here, the wrist peg, so in case you happen to lose any of these. There is actually a designated space for these. Figure comes included with a hand specifically for holding the nails. The nails actually, I don't know if you can actually see it or not, there are holes in between each of the fingers. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the nail and you just lodge them in there, hopefully far enough in there that you don't end up losing them. And again, you do this times 3. There's that one. Oh, these are so small. You're going to get that one in there as well. And see if we can get the trifecta here. Again, there's the last one there right as well. We're going to lodge those all in. And she has the hands to hold the nails. You know, honestly, I think in a case like this, if this is a hand that's already designated to hold the nail, why not just sculpt a hand that has the nails already embedded in between the fingers? I might even just consider gluing this, because I really would hate to lose these nails, whether I've got backups or not. And while they're nice to include these as separate things that you could technically remove from the fingers, if the hands are really designated to hold the nails in the first place, why not just sculpt the hand with them in the first place? That's my thought. She also does have these little nail effects. Oh man, they're going to get lost. Tiny little effects that actually do clip onto the ends of the nails. It's even hard for me to see what I'm doing here. But again, these just sort of line up. There's holes on the ends of them. So you get sort of these like nail effects And again, you just rinse and repeat them. You actually get 3 of them. But the thing, unlike the nails, though, there are no extra ones inside the baggie. So if you happen to lose the nail effects, well, unfortunately, you're just out of luck. It's using sort of the same blue that we did get earlier when we looked at Yuji Itadori's, his effects that he came included with, but again, just on a smaller size. Man, those are so small. I'm going to move that carefully to the side, and let's just hope I don't lose any of those. The figure also comes included with our hammer. Hammer is nicely done here. You get sort of the hammer head being done in a more metallic silver. And then the main handle of the hammer is done more in a kind of a dark chestnut brown. Nice to see as well that they included an effect for this. Now, the effect only goes really on one way. As you'll try to do this onto the hammer, you'll find that it doesn't work quite in one way. So you have to kind of keep turning it around until you get it to where you think it's supposed to be. And I guess that's the best place right there. That does add a little bit of extra zing when it comes to displaying it. I just love the idea that they actually took the time to include the hammer effect piece. This can fit into her hand. In fact, actually, the hand that I've got right now in the forearm is more than enough to actually hold this for Nobara. I'm going to move that to the side. Then the figure also comes, speaking of hands, with a whole bunch of series of swapped out hands. More gestured hands. I just happen to have swapped out one for one side of the figure's body, obviously, but she has another one there on the other side that would then go, obviously, on that side there. She also comes with, again, another gestured hand. She comes with hands for, of course, holding this version of the hammer, the more realistic hammer. And then she also has the same hand for actually holding the toy hammer. The toy hammer does fit into this hand. It does actually fit into this hand also as well. But she also does have a thumbs up hand. And she does also have a finger pointing hand as well. Again, really nicely sculpted hands. One thing consistently has been done well with the Jujutsu figures we've looked at so far is the fact that the hands are really nicely sculpted. I'm going to move those to the side. Going back, though, to the fact that the figure also comes included with a toy hammer. I keep wanting to squeeze these because I've had toy hammers like this growing up as a kid. You might even still be able to find ones like this, where normally the ends you'd be able to, of course, hit it against something, and it makes usually a very loud dog toy sound squeak. Not the case here, though. While it's sculpted, yes, like that, it doesn't even have the means to make the sounds, so you don't have to worry about that. Great to be, of course, displayed with the figure, but I think I might just go beelining back to the idea of displaying her with the regular hammer that has the blast effects, and while we're certainly also at it as well, just carefully picking up, I also may end up displaying her with the hand that has the nails. I still think this hand should have already had these nails built into them. Moving those to the side, the figure also comes included with a tiny little waist bag. The waist bag, though, unlike Yuji we looked at before, remember we had to kind of loop this through the belt. You don't have to do this time around. In fact, if you look at the back of the figure's body, if you look at the bag actually does have little hooks. Can you see that? So while still being hard to do, at least you don't have to detach a belt to do it. That sort of just fits over top of her belt. It's, again, not the easiest thing to do. The thing also about it, too, is the Velcro. The lower half of her skirt is actually attached by Velcro. So when you are attaching it, you may even find yourself a couple of times of actually detaching the Velcro on the back of her skirt by accident. But that's just supposed to fit over top of it. It's a little harder to do, of course. You may even just want to, do that a little bit later. But that's supposed to fit just on the back of the figure's body. The Velcro honestly does wreak a little more havoc when it comes to just trying to attach this. Just because every single time I try to attach it, it ends up detaching the Velcro in the process. I'm just going to leave it off for right now. The figure then also comes included with a series of swappable head sculpts. But just though before we do that, the figure also comes included as well with a disheveled hairpiece. I'm not making that up. That's actually even what the instruction sheet calls this, the disheveled hairpiece. It's just a tussle up, just to mess up her hair just a little bit. You sort of see the defaulted hair has it pretty cleanly combed to the one side with only just a strand of hair draping over the front of her face. If you did want to change the hair out, just get your finger in there, and you want to just detach this. Now, when you are detaching it, try not to pull it from this side, just because that one strand of plastic, obviously more susceptible to breaking. Just detach it. You can see like there's a big socket there on the top that then plugs into place, and then you're going to take the disheveled hair, and then that just fits in the same place where we just left, just like that. It's entirely up to you how you would like to have it displayed. I kind of actually like with this head portrait, the more cleaner hair myself. I think I would much rather have this hair, I think, displayed then with the next accessories the figure comes included with, a series of swappable head sculpts or face sculpts. You can see where we've started things, for example. There's like this one right here. Again, a very neutral expression face, but then again, there's this one as well, which I kind of honestly like we looked at before with Yuji. I kind of like giving them a little more exaggerated faces. So there's that option available as well. Or there's also this one. To be honest, I kind of like the smirking one a little bit more. So let's go ahead. What we're going to first have to do is we're going to have to remove the front hairpiece, take that off. And then we're also going to have to go in and pull the face off. Now, I will tell you this. I had a hard time to do this the first time. I had to heat this up with a hairdryer. Didn't want to really put it in hot water. I didn't want to do that just in case I damaged the face. But I just took a few passes with a hairdryer just so I could soften up the plastic, because it seemed like the joint was really tight on this. Go ahead and remove the face. Well, that looks a little unsettling. We're going to go ahead then and take the new face. And the face just lines up. If you're having a hard time to kind of gauge where it's supposed to go, this little ledge of plastic right here sits right above this section right here. Or what you can also do is just line up the ears. The ear will tell you exactly where that's supposed to go. And then once that's in place, go back. We're going to choose back the disheveled hair. Yeah, it looks good. And put that in place. Now, right away, I think that that's an improvement for Nobara. Again, you can entirely up to you. You can go back to just the regular neutral expression face. But I think this one adds a lot more personality. As we spin this around, you can see all the work that Threezero put into the piece. The hair on Nobara looks really nicely sculpted. Not a whole lot of paint to be said, but I mean, really, it's got some nice colors of brown. Now, Yuji, we did have this problem before where you can sort of see the seam line for the hair. I don't think it's going to be as much the problem when it comes to Nobara, but I think one thing I probably would have done is put a little more pressure to it. I don't know if I would push this in as far in as possible, just because, again, if you ever decide you want to change the hair, it is a lot harder to remove if you have it really forced together. So I might just deliberately leave a little bit of gap space, just going to be a little bit easier to change the hair pieces out. But I really like this one. I like this one as my favorite of the three. Big smirk on her face. You can see that she does have a little more, I don't want to say more of a smirk. I guess it is technically a smirking face. Even the instruction sheet calls this the smirking face. It definitely does evoke the look of smirking. She has a little bit of hair, obviously, that's covering over the one ear. The other ear is quite visible. But again, like the head sculpt looks good from all the sides. Further from that, of course, then further down, we're going to be looking at the costume itself. The material that they used in this case for the Jujutsu jacket is very similar to, of course, the one that we looked at before when we looked at Yuji's. It's sort of a, as I could best describe it, almost like a nylon parachute material. It's very soft. It's very well tailored. There doesn't seem to be, once again, a case where it almost looks like she does have buttons, but I can tell right away that if I was trying to open this, I think it would ultimately just rip it. So these aren't necessarily buttons that can be opened. I think they're just buttons by the way that it was attached together. It's a fairly high jacket, and it gives you also the chance to see as well that she has the white shirt underneath there. She's got the skirt, which again, looking back to the back of the skirt, it does have a Velcro, so it's going to be a little harder, I found. Of all the things that I actually had to put on Nobara here, I found actually that the purse, the little back bag here, was the hardest thing to do, just as again, trying to get that over top of the Velcro. But everything, like, compliment-wise, I would certainly commend them for the tailored costuming that they've given all the characters so far that we've looked at from Jujutsu Kaisen. She does also have, like, the tights, the little nylon tights there as well. I'm just going to bring it up a little bit further so you can see, like, it doesn't seem to hinder necessarily the figure's articulation, which obviously we'll talk more about in a moment. And she does also seem to have, like, a pair of loafers. The loafers are not removable. I probably wouldn't recommend even trying to take these off the feet, because I don't think you'd have a finished stocking underneath that. And it probably would end up ruining the peg, I think, also as well. And then, like always the case, it seems to be that they always put, like, Threezero, the stamping there on the bottoms of the soles. And also Nobara has that as well. For the figure's articulation, once again, we're going to go back to the head sculpt here. It is on a very generous ball joint. Not only is it a ball joint at where the head attaches to the neck, right here, where you can move it obviously back and forth, you can rotate it all the way around. But also, like when we looked at Yuji before, she seems to also have a secondary ball joint, maybe at the base of the neck. It doesn't seem to move as generously, perhaps, as when we looked at Yuji before, but it definitely does seem like there's something moving at the base of the neck. As to the arms still comfortably come out. The material on this isn't tight enough that seems to limit the articulation when it comes to Nobara. So you can easily move her arms forward. You can move her arms back. She seems to have a swivel in the bicep section. She also seems to possess a double hinge on the elbow, and you can rotate the hands all the way around. One thing I did also want to say about the hands is you got to really be careful when it comes to removing them. Even though you do get extra pegs, every single time I've tried to remove the hands and swap them out for another pair of hands, I always ultimately end up removing the peg. Then I have to go back, fish the hand off the peg, and then replace it again with the one I wanted to use. Just slide that in place. So, like, the hand pegs do seem to slide out a little easier than I would have hoped. Upper torso is on a ball joint, although it's very limited here on the figure, just because, again, like, there's so much material going over top of her torso that it does cause problems when it comes to really rotating the feet, or rotating the torso. One thing I also did want to say, too, is, like, this back section of her body feels like what they probably have done is they've taken a shell of, like, a rubbery plastic over top. And that's probably what's given her also the shape to her torso. Treading cautiously while saying that. It definitely does feel like, maybe not as much from the front, but I do notice here on the back, she seems to have a little more, I don't know if you can hear it or not. There seems to be like a shell of like a plastic that they put over top of a torso, which does make sense. Then for the legs do split out. The skirting doesn't hinder that at all. You can easily move the legs forward, move them back. Just a mild swivel at the top of the thigh. Once again, a double hinge on the knee. Be careful though. Be careful. You can already see, right? Double hinging the knee as much as I am, not only is it stretching the material, but I think there's also a risk that could start to split the material too. So just be careful while you're doing that. It's also very loud while you're doing it too. And for the feet are the things that actually have the most luxury when it comes to articulation. Easily you can move the feet up and down, back and forth this way. And she also has technically a rotation, but we're not going to rotate the feet because obviously you don't want to turn the feet all the way around. Yet all in all, a good looking figure. But I kind of feel like the same thing I felt when we had a look at Yuji. Let's just go ahead and get Nobara to stand here. And then we'll just reach back over here and grab out ourselves Yuji here. Yeah, you know, I think the same feeling that I had when we looked at Yuji Itadori is the same feeling I have now looking at Nobara Kugisaki. I feel like the figures almost look better with the alternate head sculpts that they come included with. Granted, Yuji only came included with one interchangeable head sculpt. Nobara here benefits from actually having 2 extras. Like I had said before when we had a look at Yuji Itadori, Nobara Kugisaki is currently available right now through various online sites, and I think it was the same case as when you looked at Yuji, that the price point for Nobara is about $150. Well, scratch that. It's about $149.99, but you can easily round that up to $150, which again, I think is a great price considering the kind of tailorship that they actually put into not only the fabric of the outfit, but the fact that in this case, while she is going to be obviously a shorter character than Itadori that we looked at before, I think though she makes up for it with the amount of accessories that she comes included with, not to mention 3 stellar looking head sculpts. My favorite though of the 3 is the smirking face, but I think all of them are strong contenders for how you're going to be displaying the figure. I know though when it comes to displaying this one on my shelf, Nobara is going to be displayed with the smirking face. It's my favorite of the 3. Now, again, when it comes to the accessories, she unfortunately comes with pretty small ones. All the nails, for example, are very strong contenders to be lost if you're not too careful. And to go back to a point that I mentioned in the review, I honestly think of when it came to Kugisaki including nails, the nails themselves should have probably just been embedded in the first place. Not only to the straw doll, which I've actually left the nail off for right now for the risk of this just falling off, but I also think like the nails more so, the ones that go into her fingers, are ones I think should have just been with the hand in the first place. They should have never been ones that would be separately included. Sure, it's nice to be able to lodge the nails into the fingers yourself, but at the risk of potentially losing those nails, I would much rather have Threezero just included the hand that already has the nails. If that hand is supposed to hold them in the first place, why not just sculpt the hands to have them in the first place? That's my thought at least. But what do you guys think of Nobara Kugisaki? Is this a figure you could see yourselves picking up? Let me know down below in the comment section. Once again, a big thank you to the folks over at Threezero that did provide the sample, the Jujutsu Kaisen Nobara Kugisaki, that we could have a look at in this review. If you guys did enjoy this review, by the way, why not hit with a like? If you guys are loving the content you guys are seeing and want to certainly see the rest of the Jujutsu Kaisen figures from Threezero, if you haven't already done so, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and that you're also turning on the bell notification. Want a little bit more Threezero as well? At the very end of this video, we'll also be popping up a playlist, not only including Yuji Itadori that we looked at earlier, but all the other Threezero stuff that I've been looking at over the years. As always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.